Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mustang Field. Apologies, we're getting our camera set up and running here. We had a little bit of technical difficulty to start today's game. We had everything set up, everything plugged in, and I'm sure this has happened to all of you as well. That was the moment that the computer decided it was time to install its Windows updates, which, of course, crashed the system. Number 3, Josh Perry with a long run for the Eagles that pushes it deep into Mustang territory. The ball started at the 47-yard line, ends up at the 13-yard line. Gain of 33 on the carry. Now the sneak from Carter Emanuel. That puts the ball at the 10-yard line. That'll be a pickup of 3, and we'll pause as we have an Eagle slow to get up. So again, we appreciate your patience. Everything is connected now, obviously, except for the camera. I'm going to go check that out right now, and I'll be right back. All right, we have camera. Let's switch to scoreboard. The run is enough for a first down, but not the touchdown. First and goal now coming up. Number 3, Josh Perry into the end zone for a 2-yard Eagle touchdown. That puts them on the board 6-0 with 6 minutes 48 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Extra point is good. 7-0 your score with 6 minutes 48 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Okay, and now we have our scoreboard integration working, sort of. Michael Ellis on the return for the Mustangs. That puts the ball at the 15-yard line. Wekiva takes over from there with 1st and 10. Pickup of 3 on the carry. We'll pause for an injury timeout. Jackson Kaler with a QB keep. That takes the ball up to the 32-yard line, and it's enough for Mustang. First down. This first down sponsored by DG85 Foundation, where our youth is our priority. Flag on the play. Defensive holding is called against the Eagles. Let me put a redirect on that in case somebody finds it. Yeah.
No, look how close they are. But they walked in together.
Edgewater might have left up the old way. Let me check.
I don't think so. He has like a whole track field.
I'm gonna get somebody up here.
Huh?
So far,
I don't know.
Pass falls incomplete. That brings up 4th and 8 for the Mustangs.
She's the senior. You seen that? You seen Zero over there? Yeah. His ass was on it. You seen how he stood over him? I'm gonna say hi to him or something. I just can't make eye contact. And then I have to go straight down. That's fine. Yeah, that's right. That's when like a wide receiver catches.
After the punt, the ball is spotted at the 43-yard line. 1 minute 29 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Mustangs take over from there with 1st and 10. Naeem Willard on the carry. That's good for a gain of 7. Brings up 2nd and 3 from midfield. Back to the pass, lots of time. Pass complete. Pass complete to Naeem Willard from Jackson Kaler. That is across midfield into Eagle territory, and it's good for a Mustang. First down. This first down sponsored by Susan Reddick, your local real estate specialist. And we want to welcome everybody to the broadcast and apologize for the technical difficulties we had getting this set up, as we get a carry for the Mustangs by Michael Blackman. And we're getting a signal for a clock stoppage. Ball is spotted at the 33-yard line. That is a pickup of 8. 2nd and 2 coming up. We'll now wind the clock. We're under 20 seconds to go here in the first quarter. And my name is Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs and Sports Information Director here at Wekiva High School. Again, apologies. First we had some technical difficulties with our live streaming computer setup. We had some failed software updates that, of course, happened at the last minute. As we get a carry by Jackson Kaler, and he is near first down yardage as time expires on the first quarter. Ball is spotted at the 27-yard line. That is good for a Mustang. First down. We're going to switch sides and come back in just a moment. But Wekiva will have 1st and 10 from the Eagles' 28-yard line when we come back. We're excited to announce Susan Reddick, local real estate broker, tax professional, and motivational speaker, is a proud sponsor for Wekiva football. Her support is invaluable to our team's success. Thank you for letting me know. Apparently I had a wrong setting dialed in. Orlando Health Jewett Orthopedic Institute is honored to be on the sidelines tonight. On the field and off, we provide a full spectrum of orthopedic services and a multitude of specialties and subspecialties, from hip, knee, and shoulder experts to orthopedic traumatology and more, offering proven leading-edge techniques and technologies. Orlando Health Jewett Orthopedic Institute provides patients world-class, personalized care from a number of convenient locations throughout Central Florida. We're proud to feature Florida's first dedicated orthopedic hospital. Learn more at orlandohealth.com/ortho. Orlando Health, choose well. Back to live action here at Mustang Field. Again, I'm Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs and Sports Information Director here at Wekiva. Joining me now is Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief. We believe we have our technical difficulties resolved. Neil, remember this is supposed to be week one. This is the first time we have actually broadcast real football footage this year. So we had a few kinks to work out, but we are online now. And Neil, kind of an interesting start to things here tonight. Edgewater fumbling their very first play. Wekiva took over, wasn't able to do anything with it in the red zone though. And then Edgewater on the board first. Now Wekiva knocking at the door.
Yeah, second and 5, and they continue to power that ball, trying to power it through the middle. And of course, as you mentioned, I was actually down on the field taking some pictures. And I can tell you, when I got down there, I went down there about 2.5 minutes in, just after Edgewater scored. And Coach Gabriel, of course, if you're new to Wekiva, Coach Gabriel taking over the program this year. He was not happy, and none of the coaches were. Seemed to have settled down now over the last couple of series. Looks like Wekiva is finding some semblance of a rhythm. Of course, they come in off a 32-14, a lackluster performance. Those are my words, but I'm paraphrasing for Coach Gabriel, who's not happy with that performance. And last couple of possessions, as that's Keeler throwing incomplete, and there's a penalty, but last couple of possessions, Coach Gabriel and the rest of the coaching staff at least seemed not to be quite as intensely upset and disappointed with Wekiva's play.
Flag on the play after the incomplete pass by Kaler.
And this is going to be against Wekiva.
Holding called against the Mustang offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul on a replay of third down.
11:02 remaining in the second quarter. And one thing I can say, Mark, of course, we talked about this all last season. It was the bugaboo which kept coming up, only 3 penalties against West Orange, so certainly a positive there. Looked like a much more disciplined team, but again, Coach Gabriel just not happy with the effort. Didn't even want to talk about X's and O's and strategy. Just felt like, look, if you don't put in the effort, the X's and O's and the strategy don't matter. So now they empty the backfield on third down behind the first line of scrimmage, original line of scrimmage. Keeler
has nothing but time.
And the incomplete. So a couple
pass
of
intended for Demetrius Ellison, and that falls incomplete. It'll bring up 4th and long for the Mustangs. Well, you have to give credit to the O-line there. They gave Jackson Kaler all day and part of the night, but you also have to give credit to Edgewater's secondary.
Yeah.
They did not give him any viable options.
Yeah, and of course, now that Edgewater's getting the ball back, Edgewater is coming in. They're a team that's smarting. They lost to the First Academy last week, and what was their opener, of course, as Mark mentioned, the Week 2 games wound up becoming the regular season opener. All but a handful of games washed out due to inclement weather back on August 16th, a little over 2 weeks ago. And in their opener, they lost to the First Academy. They had a 24-14 lead with about 7.5 minutes left, and they wound up losing 28-24. And of course, Mark and anyone else out there, any of you who happened to be following Wekiva a couple seasons ago, Solomon Georges, a familiar name. He's now with the First Academy. He led that comeback through a couple of touchdown passes. And not only is Edgewater smarting because they lost, but they broke their 29-game regular season winning streak. So
the Mustangs will request their first timeout of the first half.
And of course, anybody who follows high school football, especially in Central Florida, you know Edgewater is a perennial powerhouse, a state blue blood, as Wekiva is going to go for the first down now. And 74-14 over the last 7 seasons under Cameron Duke. We'll get back to the rest of that in a minute. Empty the backfield, under pressure, and Keeler nowhere to go. And down he goes as that front line collapses the offensive line. And now what was a promising drive, at least had some potential to cut that lead, get a field goal, has been squashed.
Kaler is sacked behind the line of scrimmage, and so that will turn the ball over on downs to the Eagles. Ball is spotted at the 39-yard line of Eagle territory. Edgewater takes over there with 1st and 10.
So Wekiva driving the ball all the way down to the Edgewater 22, including a 5-yard penalty. Actually, it was a 10-yard penalty. They lost 17 yards, and now, as you just heard Mark say, Edgewater 1st and 10 at their own 39-yard line. Good field position, and that's Tyson Carter pulling in the pass from Emmanuel Carter.
Carter to Carter for the pass completion. That puts the ball into Mustang territory at the 45-yard line, brings it 1st and 10 for the Eagles.
So the ball now at the Wekiva 45, a 16-yard gain, and this is what we've come to expect and anticipate from Edgewater, as now they hand it off, trying to swing it to the outside front line, doing an excellent job of chasing down the ball carrier. No gain on that play. So getting back to Edgewater, as it'll now be 2nd and 10 from the 45, the Wekiva 45. As Edgewater continues with that one-back set again, since Cameron Duke arrived 7 seasons ago, 74-14 record, as that is Josh Perry out of the backfield, and he'll continue to matriculate that ball up the field.
Josh Perry on the carry for the Eagles. That's good for a gain of 7 yards. Brings up 3rd and 3 for Edgewater from the Mustang 37-yard line.
Not only the 74-14 record, 6 district championships, 5 advancements to the regional final in 2019 and 20 state championship final as they go back to work. This is Josh Perry, and he motors around that outside, and looks like he'll have the first down. Offensive line doing their job.
Josh
sealing
Perry
off that
on
outside.
the carry for the Eagles. Puts the ball near first down yardage. The official spot is at the 36-yard line. That is 1 yard short of the first down. So it'll be 4th and 1 coming up for Edgewater. We'll pause for a timeout.
So critical play for both teams. 7-0 lead for Edgewater with 8:53 before halftime. And of course, Mark, Edgewater is one of those teams, they never rebuild, they just reload. And of course, they had a number of players graduate last year, but they are moving right along with Emmanuel Carter stepping in at QB, and of course Tyson Carter, one of the leading skilled players, along with Josh Perry, Saphir Miller, haven't heard from him yet, or Sir Samaj Fleming. Fleming, the hero of last year's game when these two teams played. He scored the winning touchdown midway through the fourth quarter with 7.5 minutes remaining. That was a 29-22 victory for Wekiva, and we're going to see some power rushing here. It's a low snap, actually had to be fielded like the shortstop by the quarterback Carter, and he just plows ahead and winds up getting that first down, plus I think it was about a 5-yard gain. So what could have been disaster.
Carter Emmanuel, if he wants it done right, he gets it done himself as he gets the Edgewater first down. The ball now down to the 31-yard line. Pause for another timeout.
So Wekiva with opportunities here to really put some pressure on Edgewater, but they have not been able to deliver, and that's on both sides. Most recently, as you just saw, the poor snap, but they were unable to penetrate. So thank you for joining us on this Tuesday night. Of course, this game was supposed to be played on the 16th, 18 days ago. These two teams, Edgewater and Wekiva, former district rivals, and now pressure. Emmanuel throws deep, wide open, score the touchdown, 13-0, blown coverage with 8:35 remaining. Edgewater with the 2-touchdown lead.
Pass is complete to Tyson Carter.
That's good for a 31-yard touchdown.
And I know, of course, you don't have to be the proverbial football guru, but Doug Gabriel is not a happy man, and I'm looking over at him, and he's talking to Maurice Gaines, the 6-foot, 170-pound senior. And now a block PAT. And now that the play was dead. So
And in high school, that's a dead ball, but give the blocked PAT to George Phillips. And the PAT is no good. That leaves it in a 13-0 game with 8:35 to go in the first.
So a ray of hope there for Wekiva. Something to, I guess you say, to have some optimism on, but certainly the bigger story right now, the bigger problem is a 13-0 deficit, and that 31 TD, wide open Tyson Carter, about 5 feet into the end zone. Well, I'm Neil Fisher. The other voice you're hearing is Mark Barchi. He's also our public address announcer here at Wekiva. Of course, he's the only public address announcer that Wekiva's ever had. He's also the director of this broadcast. And as we get ready for Edgewater to kick off, it's been perhaps not as smooth, not as efficient as Coach Duke would like for his Edgewater Eagles, but nonetheless, pretty much what we expected. They've been pounding as far as putting pressure on, and the dike has broken. The dam has broken a couple of times. A 13-0 lead now, and they've done it both on the air and on the ground. That first possession, which ended in a touchdown, 8 plays, 6 rushing, and then they scored that second touchdown via the air, as we just saw, and Wekiva will take over 1st and 10 at their own 10-yard line. So mention Edgewater, and of course, if you follow high school football, you know this. Edgewater, a perennial power. For the most part, they had a couple of down years. About 10 years ago, Cameron Duke came in. Again, 74-14 over the last 7 seasons, and 2 runs to the state championship final in 2019 and 20. They are also ranked. They began the season in the Orlando Sentinel Super 16, number 3, dropped to 7 with the loss last week, but still among the best in the area. As Jackson Keeler hands that ball off. Nope, it was a fake handoff, and he's going to lose some yards there. It's going to be 5 yards to be exact, as the Edgewater front line continues to bottle up the running game for Wekiva. Of course, Wekiva, first year under Coach Doug Gabriel, a new regime, if you will. A bunch of new players coming in. Jackson Keeler, who I just mentioned, the quarterback, number 7, one of those new players from Ocoee. And he's going to go out to the right, incomplete. No air on that ball. And that'll bring up 3rd and long for Wekiva, now in the shadow of their own end zone with 7:49 before halftime. Long way to go, but the more immediate concern now is getting out of the shadow of that end zone, maybe not even gaining the first down. Ball all the way back at the 5-yard line. Got to get to the 15 for the first, or 20 for the first down. Under pressure, Keeler does a nice job of getting rid of it, but threw it. Should have been an interception, as Nick Collins Jr., the junior DB, saw that ball just sail right through his hand. So Wekiva getting away with one there. Not sure what Keeler was seeing when he threw that ball. 5 feet from the nearest receiver. I realized he was under pressure, but still. And Keeler looking to take a breath. I can see him walking all the way down by himself over on Wekiva's side. He grabs a seat now. Certainly a frustrating start for the quarterback. The senior quarterback off to a frustrating start in this game. Of course, they're already 0-1, lackluster performance against West Orange. And speaking of lackluster, another mistake as Fritchley unable to get in here under that ball. And now it'll be 1st and 10 for Edgewater already without running one play on this possession, threatening to go up by 3 touchdowns with possession at the 21-yard line. So certainly the worst case scenario for Wekiva, facing the possibility of being down 3 touchdowns before halftime against the 7th-ranked team, according to the Orlando Sentinel Super 16, a team that once again does not reload. Does not rebuild. They reload, and they go back to work. Emmanuel out of the shotgun, the fake handoff, play action, rolls right, and that'll be incomplete. Good coverage by Jabari Smith, the one player that has really stood out for Wekiva during their first 2 games. And yes, I realize only one of the games count, but I was including the preseason kickoff classic back on August 9th against Olympia, which Wekiva did win. So it'll bring up 2nd and 10 from the Wekiva 21. Edgewater continues to pound that ball, going back to the rush. And yes, it is a 1st down. Perry carrying the ball again. That'll put the ball at the 11 and now into the end zone.
Number 5, Julian Prime, into the end zone for an 11-yard touchdown run.
And actually, excuse me, that was Prime carrying the ball twice. So 2 carries for Prime, 21 yards in a touchdown. And with 7:14 remaining, once again, not only is it a potential, but it's a reality. 3 touchdown deficit for Wekiva, 19-0 with the PAT pending. As Kinlan Curvey steps out, his PAT was blocked the last time they made the attempt. So that all set up by great defense from Edgewater, now allowing Wekiva to get a 1st down, now allowing Wekiva to move out of the shadow of its own end zone, and then the poor kick by Fritchley went off the side of his foot, 15 yards, and they take it over 1st and 10 at Wekiva 21-yard line. 3 plays later, they score, and now the PAT good. 20
That's number 45, Kinley Curvin with the PAT.
So, of course, as we mentioned, these 2 teams for the last 4 years have been in the same district, so it's mandatory that they play each other as FHSAA regulated. They've only played 6 times in total, though. Wekiva, this is their 18th season, and that was a fact that I was somewhat surprised by, Mark, given that the schools are only 8 miles apart.
Yeah, in a certain way, while this does not have the municipal overtones of the Wekiva-Apopka rivalry, it is in many ways.
Or even Ocoee.
Yeah, but in many ways, you know, these schools almost overlap. They certainly border each other in zoning, so there is a certain boots-on-the-ground rivalry between Wekiva and Edgewater. They are 2 of the closest schools to each other.
Yeah, and again, to put that in perspective, in terms of my surprise, you know, we've played West Orange, obviously, as Mark just said, they're both in the same city, Apopka, so we played Apopka the most. That's a rivalry like Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Auburn, Alabama, USC, UCLA, Texas A&M at the college level. It's the same type of rivalry, geographical. But we've played West Orange, which is about 22 miles, and down I-4, down by also the Turnpike. We've played them the second most, played them 15 times, but we've only played Edgewater, which is only 8 miles, six times. Wekiva winning those first 2 series in games 13 and 14, and that is a run straight up the middle. Won't garner much, 3 yards, actually 2 yards.
2-yard gain on the carry for the Mustangs. That puts the ball at the Make it a 1 yard gain. No, 2 yards. Second and 8 coming up from the 22-yard line.
And that's Blackman. Michael Blackman, the junior. He's pretty much become the starter now. That was a position that was somewhat up for grabs heading into the regular season, the 2-yard gain. He'll take the ball again, try that right side. He's got some room to operate. A couple of swerves, and Wekiva gets a much-needed first down. And again, just to get some semblance of rhythm on that offense and some momentum and some confidence, as that will take us to the water break. Still 20-0, Edgewater, 6:28 before halftime from Mustang Field.
Michael Blackman on the carry, picks up the first down for the Mustangs, puts the ball at the 34-yard line, 1st and 10, and we have reached the midpoint of the second quarter, and so we'll pause for an official timeout.
So Wekiva with the much-needed first down with 6:20 remaining, give them some breathing room as well in terms of the field. Now it's 1st and 10 at their own 34-yard line, the one-back set. And we got a new quarterback in as well. Jackson Keeler starting, but he has come out. I also see an injury. That's number 72. That is Zachary Saby, the 6'5" senior, 337 pounds.
Pass complete to Jabari Smith. No gain on the play. 2nd and 10 coming up for Wekiva from their own 34-yard line.
So both these teams looking for their first win. This is the second game of the season. Of course, the regular season opener on August 16th was postponed for all but a handful of teams in the area. Edgewater playing a much more difficult opponent in the first academy as Smith picks up another completion. This time he will get some forward yardage.
Smith again catches the ball, and that'll be good for 4 yards. 3rd and 6 coming up from the Mustangs' own 38-yard line.
So certainly you'd like to have a shorter distance, but 3rd and 6 definitely manageable. And again, that 4-yard gain giving some confidence, some room to operate in terms of opening up the playbook. Can you see who the quarterback is? 3rd and 6 from the Wekiva 40, under pressure. And that new quarterback is Amari Rutland.
And the fumble is picked up and run back by Eagles number 23, Xavier Denmark.
5:12 remaining, and thirdly, the train has gone off the track here at Mustang Field. That was Rutland again. Mentioned that he had come in for Jackson Keeler. And certainly him coming in the middle of the game, detrimental there. Looked like he still was getting warmed up. And now the 26-0 lead.
Neil, you calling that 38-yard return?
Yeah, 38 sounds good. Also was a sack. So again, as that pocket collapsed, this is Curvin in for the PAT. Ball down, snap, kick up, and 27-0.
PAT is good from Kinley Curvin, and that will advance the score to 27-0 with 5 minutes, 12 seconds remaining in the second quarter.
So as that pocket was collapsing, and, again, I understand you probably aren't going to see this on the screen. There was just a lot of chaos, and quite frankly, I remember when I was a kid growing up back in the 70s, in the early 80s, you had the Bugs Bunny cartoons where they'd show a big cloud of dust as Bugs Bunny would be in a fight with a couple of other the characters, and you see an arm coming out and a leg every couple of seconds. That's what it really reminded me of. It's been that way all night for the Wekiva front line and the quarterback, in the running back. But in this particular case, the actual fumble was caused by a blindside hit. Rutland getting hit on that blind side to his backside and never really had a chance of holding on to that ball. He was just trying to avoid going down as I said, what looked like a cloud of dust just caving in on him. So Rutland, as we mentioned, that was also his first action of the season, not just this game. So Wekiva will go back to work, try to build some offense against this Edgewater defense, which has been stout. Other than maybe 3 or 4 plays, they'll take over 1st and 10 at their own 28, 5:05 remaining. Mustang Field the site. Once again, both these teams looking for their first win of the season. Difference, though, is, of course, Edgewater, higher expectations, and they are ranked number 3 to start the season in the Orlando Sentinel Super 16. Dropped to 7 with that loss to the First Academy, which was ranked number 7. They're now 5 heading into this week's action. While Wekiva falling to West Orange by a 32-14 score. And I can just tell you, talking to Coach Gabriel for a few minutes yesterday and today, maybe 10 minutes in total, as now the handoff goes awry. Wekiva will maintain possession, but it is a 8-yard loss. As now the handoff goes awry. Coach Gabriel happy. Of course, I've come to know Coach Gabriel. For those of you who do follow UCF or even the Oakland Raiders.
TFL pulls the ball back to the 12-yard line. That'll bring up 2nd and 16 for the Mustangs.
Coach Gabriel could even go farther back to the late 90s. Coach Gabriel playing for the Dr. Philip Panthers. He then spent a couple years at Mississippi Gulf Coast Junior College, transferred to UCF in the early 2000s, and was drafted and played for, I believe it was 4 years for the Oakland Raiders. He also played with the New England Patriots and Cincinnati Bengals. But Coach Gabriel, as we get a timeout now,
the Mustangs request their second timeout of the first half. 4 minutes, 8 seconds remaining in the second quarter.
So even for a football coach, my point is that Coach Gabriel, after basically working his way up the ladder as far as the levels, even for a football coach, he's an extremely intense individual. And I know he's got to be seething inside, just seeing the lack of effort and discipline that this team has really presented through the first 2 games this season. So we line up again, 4:08 remaining, 27-0 deficit faced by Wekiva against Edgewater. Again, this is a series that has become a series over the last 4 years. This is the 5th consecutive season they've met, only 2 times before that. As Rutland, nope, that's actually a different quarterback, and he throws a PI interception. There is a flag, though, so perhaps some hope.
Pass is picked off by Damian Moore Jr. However, there is a flag on the play. Touchdown stands. Unsportsmanlike conduct is called against the Mustangs on 2 counts. So, Neil, that's that's about as bad as it gets. You get the pick 6 plus the double unsportsmanlike conduct.
I was going to say the first 3 touchdowns, the 21-0 lead, they were all on the offense, and I wouldn't say that Wekiva played great defense, but Edgewater did have to actually do some earning of those touchdowns. There was some resistance by Wekiva, but the last 2 touchdowns, have been miscues on the offensive end and easy pickings for the Edgewater defense on the return. The last one, which made it 27-0, that was a fumble return for a TD, and now this one, which of course has made the score 33-0, and Edgewater's going for the 2 PAT, an interception return. 4:02 remaining. Yeah, and Mark, I mean, you try to be somewhat respectful, as the throw from Carter Emmanuel, excuse me, as incomplete. Good defense by the secondary, but that's about all that Wekiva's done right.
2-point conversion intended for Grayson Gibson falls incomplete, and so the score will remain 33-0 with 4 minutes 2 seconds remaining in the second quarter.
So, as I was saying, Mark, of course, you know, we want to present a competitive game. We want to be respectful of Wekiva. We do realize that we are talking about teenagers, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, young men. But, Mark, really, I don't know of any more hopeful or optimistic way to describe this other than the train has fallen off the tracks.
You know, clearly there's some focus issues, and that's, you know, likely to happen in the early season, especially when you have a lot of, you know, this team has not played together as a varsity unit for very long. They have not played under the same coach for very long, so we're in the storming, norming, performing. We're in the storming part of that series, and due to the previous penalties, the ball will be spotted half the distance to the goal twice. And so that puts the ball at the 12.5-yard line.
So was there a penalty on both teams? Oh, no.
No. It was, the penalty was on Edgewater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, penalties were on Edgewater, not against Wekiva. So, again, you know, while the Wekiva managed to you know, stay on the right side of those unsportsmanlike conduct and keep their mental cool, and that is to their credit, you know, the focus problems apparent. Now they will at least get a field position well, they would have.
Well, they would have. Might still be able to pull a decent run out of this. And so it'll be 1st and 10 at the 34, as now we're seeing some tempers flare, laundry on the field. 3:53 remaining, and just as you said, Mark, as Wekiva was able to keep their cool and poise as soon as you said that. The opposite. But that could have been a much better, Wekiva could be starting with much better field position. Again, another fumble. And, well, Wekiva's going to catch a break here. It's going to be against Edgewater. And that's a 15-yard variety. So that'll put the ball on
Flag
the
on the play.
Edgewater
Unsportsmanlike conduct is called against the Eagles. It's 15-yard penalty from the end of the return. That puts the ball at the 48-yard line in Mustang territory, 1st and 10 Wekiva. So, yeah, Neil, obviously, if you're...
And that is the first time since midway through the first quarter Wekiva's been in Edgewater territory.
Yeah, and if you're Coach Duke, you've got to be disappointed by that, because otherwise, like, on the field, things are really going your way, but...
You've done everything right.
Yeah,
but
everything about the vibes and the momentum that you get off of a pick six is kind of spoiled when you follow it up with back-to-back-to-back 3 consecutive unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. We had a gain of 2 yards on the first play of the drive for the Mustangs, puts the ball at midfield. McNish on the carry.
Isaiah McNish getting his first carries of the game, and somewhat surprised that he hasn't gotten some carries earlier in the game as they go back to Blackman, and he tries to pound that right side. Once again, Edgewater having none of it. No yards, and that'll bring up 3rd and 9 now for Wekiva. And a critical point in this game, it might not necessarily be in terms of the future of this game, but moving forward. Remember, this is the second game of the season. You still got 8 more to go. And so if you're Wekiva, you want to feel good heading into halftime, feeling like you can actually move the ball, have some cohesiveness, some rhythm. as they now go out of the one-back set with three receivers, and we're not going to get the ball off. And it's another penalty.
You could have seen that from a
Edgewater.
satellite. That was, let's see, that was Luke Pastus. Offsides called against the Edgewater defense. That's a 5-yard donation to the Mustang cause, and a replay of third down.
And now that makes the distance 4 yards. So 4 yards to work with instead of the 9. Same formation, one-back set with the H-back on the left, 3 receivers. And Willard, interception at the 38, and there's some room to run down that left sideline, and finally pushed out of bounds at, I believe, the Wekiva 38.
Picked off by Damian Ward Jr. His second interception has been in defense.
Down that left sideline,
Throws the ball back inside Mustang territory.
And again, I realize Willard is not your regular quarterback, but just don't know what he saw there for the second time in a row. There was not a receiver within about 7 yards. And so just as quickly as it looked like Wekiva might be able to, like I said, put some momentum together and start feeling good about themselves heading into halftime, Edgewater steals it. So 1st and 10 from the Wekiva 44-yard line. Carter lines up the Eagles. And now the dump pass and incomplete, and that was probably the best case scenario for Edgewater. Lines up the receiver, had a DB for the dump pass and incomplete. That was probably the best case. Stops the clock.
Pass falls incomplete. It brings up 2nd and 10 for the Eagles from the Mustang 45-yard line.
Stops the clock with 2:06 remaining. And Edgewater looking to up that 33-0 lead. And now, again, if you are new to football, high school football, 35 is the running clock rule. So does not, if the lead does go under 35, it does not go back to stopping, and it does have to be in the second half.
Collision is made to Tyson Carter, and that'll move the chains. Ball is spotted at the 4-yard line. Make it the 33, 1st and 10.
So it's an 11-yard gain. As Edgewater back to work, they go with the one-back set, lined up directly behind the quarterback. And speaking of quarterbacks, Carter looking for his man, finds him, a wide open Luke Anderson, his first catch of the game. And he matriculates that ball even more down inside.
Pass complete to Luke Anderson.
Carter looking for his man.
Tackle made by Jabari Smith.
Luke Anderson, his first catch of the
That's
game.
good for an Edgewater first down. Gets the ball at the 15-yard line.
So an 18-yard completion. And once again, Edgewater knocking on the door. They'll hand it off to Perry. He did a lot of damage running the ball in the first quarter. And there is a flag coming in as he gained about... Edgewater knocking on the door. About 2 yards.
Here's Josh Fleming.
There is a flag coming in as he gained about, as you heard Mark say, it was actually Fleming. First time we've called his name all night. Of course, he was the hero of the game when these two teams met last year, scoring the winning touchdown with 7.5 minutes remaining, a 38-yard end-around rush, and the penalty is against Edgewater. So again, as we mentioned, the one thing that Edgewater has not done well.
Called against the Edgewater offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul, and a replay of first down.
Penalties are the one, like you say, low light of the Edgewater performance. Back to work, though, with the ball at the 21 now. Lots of time for Carter, and he finds his man in the end zone. Touchdown, 39-0, 1:21, second quarter. Nope.
Pass is complete.
It is complete.
Deserves Samaj Fleming into the end zone.
Carter finds his man in the end zone.
14-yard touchdown completion
1:21.
for the play. Yeah, that was for celebration.
So, Mark, no sooner had I mentioned that we hadn't mentioned Fleming's name, and he finds himself all alone in the left side of the end zone.
Unsportsmanlike conduct is called against the Eagles. That penalty will be assessed on the kickoff. Meanwhile, Kinley Curvin sets to take the PAT.
So a 14-yard TD, as you heard Mark Barchi, my partner and public address announcer. So if you're new to our broadcast, first of all, thank you. We hope you enjoy the broadcast, albeit aside from the score and what has been a dominant performance, we hope you do enjoy the broadcast altogether, as the PAT is good and now 40-0 with 1:21 left. As much as we do enjoy bringing these broadcasts to you, and certainly, Mark, you can see a team that is in transition. Not only the coaching staff, but only 6 players returning. This is a team that won its preseason opener against Olympia and then lost its regular season opener against West Orange 32-14. And certainly they made a number of mistakes against West Orange. But when I talked to Coach Gabriel yesterday and today, just talked to him for maybe 8, maybe 10 minutes. Didn't really need to talk to him very long. He was incredibly disappointed, upset, and even frustrated at what he really believed was a lack of effort. And again, not necessarily effort in terms of physically or intensity, but the focus and the lack of discipline. And it's just continued tonight. And, you know, you look at, in every sport, Mark, we don't talk about it a lot, but there really is a hierarchy. Most sports, you can divide the schools, the teams into 3 different levels. And certainly West Orange, they came in ranked 15th in their game last week in that Sentinel Super 16. We're talking Edgewater moving into that very top of that first echelon level with a team ranked 3rd. And the only reason they dropped to 7th this week is because they were playing a team that was the 7th ranked team. And we're really seeing all those
Kickoff
factors.
is into the end zone for a touchback. Mustangs will start from their own 20-yard line with 1st and 10.
And we're seeing all those factors now coming into play with this 40-0 score.
Yeah, and Neil, you mentioned the 35-point running clock rule. Just as a reminder, that does not go into effect until the second half. Does not matter what the score is until halftime, and then starting with the third quarter, unless Wekiva were to close the lead to less than 35 in the next minute and 21 seconds, we would be playing the third and fourth quarters entirely under a running clock.
Yeah, once the running clock rule goes into effect, it stays in effect. Doesn't matter if the lead does get cut back down to 35 in the second half.
Right, it does if it gets cut before the second half, but once we've entered the third quarter, once you go to a running clock, you don't come back.
So now Willard, working out of the one-back set, hands the ball off. Short gain up the middle, as the time will probably be under a minute when they snap it again.
Carry by Cameron Holt. No gain on the play. 2nd and 10 coming up for the Mustangs from their own 20.
So going back, Mark, the first series of this game, Edgewater received the opening kickoff, and it ended with a fumble. Wekiva recovering it. That seemed like a lifetime ago. As Willard goes back now, and there's a flag on the play. It was another short gain, most likely that's holding. Yep. That seemed like a lifetime. About 95% of the time. Willard goes back now. Linesman will stand a flag on the quarterback. Push that ball to the backfield. It is holding. 43 seconds remaining in the first half. So looking ahead, of course, Wekiva will be playing Horizon on Friday. Horizon 0-2 themselves. So certainly no disrespect intended towards Horizon, but a much easier opponent.
Mustangs will request their final timeout of the second quarter. There was a flag on the previous play. It was holding called against the Mustang offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. That'll bring up 2nd and 20 when we return from the timeout.
So Horizon Again, perhaps a better way to say it, not as much as a high level of challenge as Edgewater. In the meantime, Edgewater, they will be traveling to Freedom, and what would be just an incredible, sensational comeback. One for the ages, certainly a lead story on the 11 o'clock news. They will be 1-1, and certainly they will walk off the field with the story being taking care of business. A hot, humid, muggy day. I believe we were in the 90s when we kicked off about an hour and 22 minutes ago at 7 o'clock. Of course, now that it's night, a little bit cooler, still hot and muggy, though, from the school next to State Route 429 in southeast Apopka. And they got 43 seconds to work with before the half as Keeler's back in. He's going to run that ball to the outside. And I believe he gained the first down, which would stop the clock. 43 seconds to work with before the half as Keeler's back in.
Holds on to the QB
run that ball to the outside.
Back to the original line of scrimmage. 3rd and 10 for the Mustangs. So Neil, you're right. He got a first down's worth of yards, but we had a holding penalty. So all that really does is get us back to where we started.
Yeah, and they'll have time for one more play if they so choose. It doesn't look like they're in any hurry. So again, to clarify, yes, it was a mistake. I forgot about the holding. And they will get one last play off as Keeler drops back under pressure. And down he goes, and that's how the first half will end. Emblematic drops back of the first half. And started looking good for Wekiva. Of course, they were a heavy underdog. Thought they might give them some challenge as Edgewater's first drive, the first drive of the game, ended on a fumble. Wekiva moved the ball. Their second possession into Edgewater territory, but it's been all Edgewater since then. They've scored on offense, a couple of defensive touchdowns, and they've done it through the air with Carter Emmanuel pulling the trigger. And as is always the case, the skilled receivers, Fleming, Perry, Prime, all contributing, and it's a 40-0 lead at halftime, and what has become the regular season home opener for the Wekiva Mustangs.
At halftime, your score is 40-0 as the final play of the game was a Kaler run. And we'll head into intermission. Want to remind everyone that our concession stand is open and is accepting credit cards for the first time. So if you find yourself needing a refreshment or a snack to keep you going through the end of the game and you don't have any cash on you, they now take cards as well. Make sure you stop by and support our band programs for those of you here in the stadium. We also want to remind you that we did solve our technical difficulties from the beginning of the game. So if you have friends and family back in College Park, elsewhere in Apopka, or anywhere in the world, and they're not able to join us in person for tonight's game, they can tune in on NFHS Network or on our YouTube channel, Wekiva Sports. That's youtube.com/Wekiva Sports, or search Wekiva Sports on the YouTube app on your favorite computer, smart TV, or mobile device. Let me find the email Jamie forwarded me from Jonte.
Aside from the score,
Don't have to write much on this one.
And now we invite you to find a comfortable spot as the real show is about to begin. The moment is here, and the feeling is right, and the time is now. By now you've seen us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You've talked about us, and now Edgewater, and finally, the wait is over. The Wekiva High School Mighty Marching Mustangs Band. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, from the city that never sleeps here, 2501 North Hiawassee Road in the beautiful city of Apopka, Florida, please welcome what has become known as the best band in the land, the Wekiva High School Mighty Marching Mustangs Band, over 120 strong. Theme of today's halftime program, remembering the music artists that paved the way for music artists of today. So now sit back, relax, enjoy. Starting with the New World Symphony, Africano in the Stone. We present to you a multi-drill featuring the contemporary sounds of EWF. 4 company fronts, including the New World Symphony by Dovak, Africano by Earth, Wind, and Fire, and In the Stone by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Once again, your Mustang marching band, the pride of Wekiva.
Y'all coming? Or not? Y'all coming or not?
For those of you here in the stadium, we want to remind you that we have concession stands available, and it benefits the Wekiva Band Booster Program. So if you need a refreshment to get you through the game or a snack to finish up the third and fourth quarter, we encourage you to stop by now. And then we want to remind you that besides cash and school pay, they now take card as well at the concession stand. So if you didn't bring any cash with you, that's no reason to stay away. If you are watching us online from home, well, you're welcome to go to your kitchen and get a snack, but we can't help you here at the stadium. You're welcome to make a donation to the band. They just can't provide you any snacks for it in your living room. We do invite you to join us again on Friday night. This is a rare set of circumstances. This game, of course, was rescheduled from week 1 in August, which was washed out. Today, the weather has cooperated with us, and skies cleared in time for our game. We are hoping the same thing happens on Friday. And Friday is also a schedule change. Friday was originally supposed to be an away game at Horizon. That was changed before the season started. It is now a home game versus Horizon. So that'll be right here at Mustang Field this Friday evening, September 6th at 7 p.m. And that will be live streamed in exactly the same places that you can find tonight's game. So again, that'll be on YouTube. The channel name is Wekiva Sports, youtube.com/Wekiva Sports, or search Wekiva Sports on the YouTube app with your favorite computer, smart TV, or mobile device. We also simulcast our broadcast on NFHS Network. That's the NFHS Network app or NFHSnetwork.com, the official home of high school sports for the Florida High School Athletic Association. For those of you who are here in the stadium, we do want to remind you, if you are depending on a ride to get home from tonight's game, please remember that we will be using modified timing rules for the second half. So when we say 12-minute quarters, we pretty much mean 12-minute quarters. You can count on the entire second half to take right around 28 minutes. It'll be just the 2 quarters plus the water breaks and any called timeouts or other extended disruptions of play. Otherwise, the clock will run continuously throughout the third and fourth quarters. So please keep that in mind when you call your ride and let them know what time to be here to pick you up. We appreciate your cooperation in helping our administrators to close the facilities and get home to their families in a timely manner after the conclusion of tonight's game. So for those of you watching at home, we will now take you inside the press box. Neil Fisher is with me. My name is Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs. Neil is the voice that you hear most of the time on tonight's broadcast. And Neil, obviously, this is not what Coach Guthrie had in mind when he started tonight's game.
Yeah, Coach Gabriel, as we mentioned, it's Coach Gabriel, a new era, not only, of course, Coach taking over, but almost an entire new staff, only 2 other coaches, Coach Brandenburg and Jackson, remaining from the previous regime. And as I mentioned, I think it was about a minute and a half remaining in that first half. Wekiva opened the season, and going all the way back to August 9th, the preseason game against Olympia. I'll be honest, I don't remember the exact score, but I remember it was a 3-touchdown victory. It was a very decisive victory in favor of Olympia. And I don't necessarily see that the coaching staff thought it was false hopes, but I do think there might have been some atmospheres, the environment around Wekiva winning so easily. Remember, Olympia only had 1 starter, so Wekiva only has 6 returning starters, which is not a lot, but compared to 1, it is a lot. And they really, even during that game, you could see that there was some potential to make some runs during the game, to have those like 5-10 minute stretches in which they might be able to do some damage, do some challenge. But overall, there was just a lack of consistency. They made a lot of mistakes that you could just see when they played teams like West Orange and Olympia. It was going to be a problem. So move forward to last week, they play West Orange, and it was 32-14. The score in itself tells you the lack of effort. And again, as I said throughout that first half, it wasn't an effort in terms of the physical or the intensity. It was the mental and the discipline. Now, I do grant them, last season we talked about over and over again, penalties, that was a tangible problem, 12 and a half every game. They're not going to be nearly that many, but it seems like they're making more of the other kind of mistakes that don't show up in the record books, not blocking the right way, not moving the right way to block, throwing to the wrong, running the wrong route, throwing the wrong pass, that type of mistake. And as I mentioned, this specifically is where I was going with the minute and a half when I mentioned it. You have in every sport, whether we want to talk about it or not, I'm just going to be blunt, there's the tiers. You have tiers in sports. You have usually at least 3 tiers. In West Orange, I'd probably say ranked 15th, and the Orlando Sentinel Super 16 coming off a 3-7 season are at the top of that second tier. Edgewater is at the top of the first tier. They lost last week. It broke a 29-game winning streak. And you could just see, like, if they were still making those mistakes against West Orange, they were going to be even more magnified than the 32-14 score against Edgewater.
So at this point, I think it's safe to say that, barring some sort of
historic,
some sort of historic turnaround that will be written about in the USA Today, this is probably going to put Wekiva at an 0-2 disadvantage to start the season. So what does Wekiva learn from this? What does Wekiva take into the Horizon game on Friday to make sure that this is an anomaly and not the beginning of a pattern?
Well, again, also relate what I was talking about, the lack of discipline and the mistakes. Again, there's just not that effort going on mentally. But when I talked to Coach Gabriel, I've talked to him the last couple of days. I also mentioned this throughout the first half. I only talked to him for about 7 minutes combined, and that was because he didn't really have a lot to say. He didn't want to talk about strategy and X's and O's or how we match up against our opponent because of the effort. So I really don't think there's much, going back to what Coach Gabriel starts is just like, we can't talk about anything as we're actually getting a nice return, a beautiful return, might have a touchdown out to midfield, down to the 40, the 30, the 20, and he gets the block and into the end zone. 98 yards and some sunlight to the Wekiva cause and effort.
Mustang kickoff return is all the way to the 1-yard line
before being pushed out.
Okay, so it wasn't quite into the end zone. But to finish my thought, Mark, and again, when you least expect it, we get some excitement, some juice here at Mustang Field. But you really can't, I agree wholeheartedly with Coach Gabriel. You can't talk about X's and O's and strategy until you get your mindset, the focus going right. As, let's see, who's that under center? I can't really tell. And they just pounded ahead, leaned forward, and yes, it is in the end zone. We have to take a look at the replay to see who carried that ball into the end zone.
You're not going to get a replay because our camera operator's not on top of the box yet. I will try to run it from inside the press box.
So 40-6 score, 10.5 minutes remaining. Of course, it is a running clock. That's the 35-point rule. And certainly something Wekiva can build on. Again, but, as I was saying, it's not just a matter of not being focused and giving it the right effort, but that's what you learn.
And hand off to Jackson Keller is stopped short, and so the 2-point conversion is no good. The score remains 40-6 with 10 minutes remaining in the third quarter.
But to answer your question, Mark, hopefully what Wekiva will learn is first and foremost, at least chronologically, is you have to be focused and have the right effort. So 9:40 remaining. If you did join us late, it is a running clock, 35 points in the second half. The clock does run, does not stop. And even if Wekiva, which they just did, gets that lead down to under 35, the clock continues to run. Once it's a running clock, it does not stop being a running clock.
All right. So I don't know where our camera operator is. I have a spare camera inside the press box with me. So for the next few minutes, I will be your public address announcer, camera operator, director, and if you don't laugh at my jokes, swimming instructor.
Number 10, look. He look.
Now Edgewater looking to answer with a big kickoff return of their own. This one's not going to get quite the traction as the last one did. We can get the camera to focus.
Return by Sirsamaj Fleming. That takes the ball out to about the 45-yard line, maybe at the 44 of Mustang territory. Eagles will start from there with 1st and 10. Pickup of 7 on the play, 2nd and 3 coming up for Edgewater.
A spin move there.
Christian Henderson on the carry for Edgewater. Gain of 1 brings up 3rd and 2.
I am going to assume that my roster is correct because that was number 4, but Christian Henderson is listed as a defensive back on my roster.
Yeah, I was going to say he's listed as a defensive back, so I think he's getting just some, with the 34-point lead, getting some work in there at the running back again. And I think you're going to pretty much see this throughout the second half, which there's really not much reason to do anything else at this point.
Once again, Christian Henderson. That time it is good for the first down. That moves the ball to the 33-yard line. 1st and 10 coming up for Edgewater.
So Edgewater continuing to move that ball, even with this cleanup time now. And they'll run it one more time, and this time they bounce it outside, and we got a penalty as well at the end of the play.
Once again, Christian Henderson, this time stopped by Jameer Tyson, and a flag on the play.
So as we mentioned in the first half, Wekiva will be taking on Horizon.
Face mask is called against the Mustangs.
Wekiva will be taking on Horizon this Friday, the 3rd of 3 games in 8 days.
As personal foul varieties, that is half the distance to the goal, and it'll be a first down for the Eagles.
And no disrespect intended to Horizon, who has had a rough start to the season as well, 0-2. That should at least not be quite as high a level challenge of high intensity of a challenge as we bounce it to the outside again. And another penalty. And then the rest of their schedule, they will take on Eustis. That's a road game as we wait for the penalty. Lee County, that's up in Georgia. That is the 20th. Then Oviedo on the road, Evans at home, Jones on the road, Lake Howell at home, and then Apopka, the Tater Bowl, rounding out the season. 3 of the last 4 games on the season are at home. And
Yeah, this is another one of those flukes of scheduling where we have back-to-back home games, then a lot of away games, and then back-to-back-to-back home games.
As Edgewater is going to continue to run it. Of course, Cameron Duke, the Edgewater coach.
Henderson again on the carry. That is a loss on the play. That'll pull the ball back to the 16-yard line.
Coach Duke, the Edgewater coach, is not going to call pass play here or allow his coordinator to do it as they now try the left side. 3.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. 40-6 lead for Edgewater. Of course, Edgewater, always a tough team to beat, always a powerhouse. Under Duke, 7 years now, 74-14, but they came into this game smarting. Losing last week, they lost a 24-14 lead to the First Academy. They were ranked third in the Orlando Sentinel Super 16. Gave up that 10-point lead in the last 7.5 minutes as the pass is incomplete. And that will bring up third down. Orlando Sentinel Super 16. Also a note there for you.
Pass intended for Tyson Carter. Ball's incomplete, broken up by Eddie Woolard. That'll bring a fourth down for the Eagles.
And Kinley Curvin's in. He is 3 of 4 on the PATs. This is his first field goal attempt of the night. He'll be kicking it from 40.
The ball's on the 23.
So the 40-yard attempt. Snap, ball down, kick up, and good. So Edgewater adds to the lead, 43-6
Field
now.
goal scored by Kinley Curvin.
So again, going back to that last loss last week, extra motivation for Edgewater. Certainly, again, I don't cover Edgewater. If you're new to this broadcast, first of all, thank you. I'm Neil Fisher. The other voice you're hearing is Mark Barchi, who's also the public address announcer. But I work for the Apopka Chief, and we cover Wekiva High School, so I'm not covering Edgewater. But going back to my days as a student athlete, if we had lost a game giving up a 10-point lead in the last 7 minutes, we certainly would feel like we had something to prove in a mission. And again, that's my point, Mark, is that Edgewater always being a powerhouse, a team that talks about state championships, contenders, being a state championship contender, had an extra layer of motivation, an extra layer of intensity coming into this game. Also, as a side note, began to tell you this too, if you were following Wekiva football a couple of seasons ago, or at least looked at the roster, the quarterback of that comeback for the First Academy, Solomon Georges, a familiar name. He was the backup quarterback for a couple seasons. He also played on the baseball team as well.
Touchback. And so Wekiva will start their next drive from their own 20-yard line.
And it will be at the start of the fourth quarter as the last 7 seconds run off. So good news for Wekiva is they have outscored Edgewater 7-3 in this third quarter. Of course, the bad news is they're doing it during wrap-up time. A lot of your second and third stringers in. And at the end of the third quarter, it's a 43-6 lead for Edgewater from Mustang Field.
That takes us to the end of the third quarter, 43-6 the score at the final intermission. For those of you here in the stadium, we want to remind you that if you are depending on a ride to get home from tonight's game, that when we say 12 minutes, we mean 12 minutes because we are using modified timing rules. The clock will not stop other than for the water break, called timeouts, and other extended disruptions of play. Otherwise, you can count on, when we say 12 minutes, we mean 12 minutes. So if you are depending on a ride to get home from tonight's game, please give them a call now and let them know that they should be on their way so that our administrators can close the facility and get home to their families in a timely manner at the conclusion of tonight's contest. We appreciate your cooperation.
So we begin the fourth and final quarter with Wekiva possession.
Michael Blackman with the opening run of the drive. That's good for a gain of 6. Puts the ball at the 26-yard line and brings up 2nd and 4.
So,
right, so somebody is up there at least moving the camera back and forth between the left and the right half of the field. So there is something happening.
So Keeler back to work, and they go long, and that's an incomplete pass. Way incomplete. And that will bring up 3rd down as we drop under 11 minutes. In
Pass
this
intended for Naeem Woolard falls incomplete.
And Neil, I think there's a reason that was so incomplete. Naeem Woolard is slow to get up, so we are going to get a clock stoppage here. The officials do have the discretion to do that if there's going to be an extended disruption to play, even under running clock rules. And that is what's happened here. So we have the athletic training team on the field. Looking at, looks like actually Edgewater's AT team got here first, although Wekiva's team is making their way over there as well. Edgewater brought an entire bus full of athletic trainers today. So I'm like, please tell me you're not expecting that many injuries, right?
Yes. So quick.
But I believe that's why the it's not just that Naeem Woolard didn't know where the ball was. It's that he looks like he may have caught his ankle a little bit there.
There was a legitimate reason that, and again mentioned at halftime.
Naeem Woolard shaking up on the play, making his way off with the assistance of our athletic training team.
Mentioned there has been a number of miscommunications that falls under the umbrella of mistakes between receiver and quarterback. That certainly was just unfortunate injury. But to go over the scoring real quick here while we got this break. Scoring was open, 6:48 first quarter. Perry with a 2-yard rush. Then Emmanuel to Carter, a 31 pass. Carter wide open in the end zone. That's really when you got the feeling it was going to be a long night for Wekiva, 8:35 second quarter. We'll get back in a moment. It's Keeler under pressure. He runs again, gets the first down, and runs out of bounds. And there was a hit, and there's the flag. And
Jackson Kaler on the carry for the Mustangs, and a late flag on the play.
Yeah, that was Keeler had already stepped out of bounds when he took a hit to the shoulder. And give refs credit, they separated the two teams quickly.
A little bit of frayed nerves happening there at the sidelines.
Frustration.
Yep, there it is.
Personal foul, late hit called against the Eagles.
And again,
a second flag is also on the play.
Again, really, if you're Cameron Duke, the Edgewater head coach, the only thing that you can look at and say, not feel good about tonight is those penalties.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct called against the Mustangs.
So offsetting penalties. But I do believe that that is the 4th unsportsmanlike penalty against Edgewater.
Well, technically speaking, a late hit is a personal foul, not an unsportsmanlike conduct. But
15 yards.
It falls into the same category of mental errors that make coaches tear their hair out because they have nothing to do with football.
Yeah, taking shots. So that is the ball now at the 48. So that was a 14-yard gain for Jackson Keeler. And going back to the scoring, Prime made it 20-0. As there's a completion, nice route, nice pass. And that'll take the ball for the second time tonight inside Edgewater territory. 9 minutes in the third quarter. And there's a completion, nice route,
Pass complete to 26, Xavier McMurrin. That's good for a Mustang. First down First down sponsored by DG85 Foundation, where our youth is our priority.
And it was also a 17-yard gain, as now an incomplete pass. Back to the scoring again before I was so rudely interrupted by the completion. Prime made it 20-0, 11-yard rush, 7-14. And then the defense got into the act. The offense was doing it both through the air and on the ground up to that point. But Denmark picked up a 31-yard fumble recovery. 5:12 remaining. Carter with an interception return, over 50 yards, 4:02. And Emmanuel to Fleming with only 1:21 remaining in the first half. That was
Jackson Kaler is taken down by number 15, Will Marsdale. For a loss of 2 yards. 3rd and 12 coming up for the Mustangs.
now in the fourth quarter, 43-6, 7.5 minutes remaining. And so that last touchdown, the Emmanuel to Fleming pass, that was 14 yards and brought it to 40-0 at halftime. 7-3 in the third quarter in favor of Wekiva, as Jackson Keeler again trying to...
There is a fumble that was picked up by Jackson Vella. However, there was a flag on the play first. We'll see what the outcome of that is.
So now with the 7-3 in the third quarter, 7 minutes remaining, play getting sloppy on the field for both teams.
The penalty was against Wekiva and is declined, so that fumble recovery by Jackson Vella will stick, and it is Eagles ball.
Again, thank you for joining us on this Tuesday night. Again, this game was originally scheduled August 16th, was supposed to be the regular season opener for both these teams. Inclement weather throughout the Central Florida area. Only a handful of games in the area were played. Of course, Mark, I don't think it really mattered as far as the outcome, as Edgewater goes back to work. There is some life in the stadium, though. To our right, the band. And the handoff. And now another penalty. And can't see who. Oh, there's the helmet. McNish just threw his helmet off. And that could be an ejection. Is that when you throw your helmet off?
Well, it can be. Let's see what happens.
Dead ball. Unsportsmanlike conduct called against the Mustangs.
And that's unfortunate. That's a shame. Of course, McNish, one of the faces of the program this year. And that's LaMarcus Jackson, the assistant coach, calming McNish down over on the sideline. Not sure what happened, but certainly McNish felt something was wrong. As again to our right, the band is playing.
Takes the ball to the 45-yard line when a 15-yard penalty is applied to the end of the play. First down, Edgewater.
And he'll continue to run the ball out of the one-back set as Henderson slams ahead, carrying runners at the end of that play for about another 3 yards. It'll be about 8 in total.
Run is made by Christian Henderson, and again we have a late penalty flag on the play.
Friday. That is the 6th.
Unsportsmanlike conduct is called against the Mustangs. It'll be another 15-yard penalty.
Wekiva will be taking on Horizon.
And everything must go at the concession stand now. 2 for 1, credit card only. All right, they have shut down cash sales at the concession stand. The tills are closed. However, they are still accepting credit card transactions and doing 2 for 1 specials at the band because those burgers are just not going to be as fresh on Friday. So we might as well sell them now.
Edgewater will be on Friday. They'll be looking to go 2-1 as another penalty. And they will be looking to go 2-1 against Freedom. And then the rest of their schedule, Jones, Apopka. Of course, that's always those 2 games among the most looked forward to in the area. Lyman, Winter Park, Winter Springs, Dr. Phillips, and Boone. Again, mentioned this is a series that really didn't become a series until 5 years ago. They had only played twice up until 2019. That was through the first 12 years of Wekiva's existence. They scheduled games the last 5 years, played 4 of the 5. The exception was in 2020. That game was canceled due to COVID. And Edgewater has won all 4 of those games. They've been fairly close games.
Pass is close to Jason Gibson, tackling it back.
Last 2 games that these teams have played, it was 29-22 last year. As a matter of fact, it was 22-all with 7.5 minutes left when Sir Samaj.
Ineligible receiver downfield is called against the Eagles. That will negate the completion. It brings up 3rd down.
Sir Samaj Fleming scoring on a 38 and ended around rush with 7.5 minutes remaining. That turned out to be the eventual winner last season. That game played at Edgewater the year before, 2022. A 14-6 game. Edgewater scoring 2 touchdowns in the first quarter to hold on to that game. And even going back to 2019, which began this string, as we could be looking at another long game. We are looking at another long game. The only question is, does it get into the end zone? No, but Henderson shaking and baking as we now are under a minute, getting all the way down to the 4-yard line. So that's
Christian Henderson on the carry. The touchdown was saved by Jaden Joseph for the Mustangs.
And in that game in 2019, the final score was 52-21. But Wekiva actually held 14-0 and 21-7 lead. It was only 35-21 at 28-21 at halftime. And that will be it as the last 13 seconds click off. So again, you were hoping going into this game that perhaps the young and inexperienced Wekiva team could provide a challenge. That was not the case against the perennial blue-blooded state powerhouse Edgewater Eagles. A fumble on the first possession gave Wekiva hope, but from then on it was all Edgewater. Scoring quick, Perry with a 2-yard run, 6:48 first quarter. Emmanuel to Carter, a 31 TD pass, 8:35. Second quarter, that made 13-0, and that was when this is going to be a long night feeling set in. Prime, a 11-yard rush, 7:14, 20-0. Denmark, the defense then getting into the scoring act, a 31-yard fumble return. Carter, an interception at 4:02 of the second quarter, an interception return for a touchdown. First half scoring closed out with Emmanuel to Fleming, 14 yards, 121, and then the field goal, 40 yards from Curvin in the third quarter, and that brings your final score to 43-6. So once again, Horizon on Friday, Wekiva will be looking for its first win of the season, and again, take us to the finish line, Mark.
That takes us to the end of tonight's ball game. 43-6, the final score on the makeup game from Week 1. We'd like to thank everyone who came out tonight to support your Mustang and Eagle athletes. Thanks also to those of you who joined us online, and special thanks to the members of our digital TV and yearbook programs who came out to help us with tonight's broadcast. Once again, Wekiva will be hosting Edgewater this Friday night at 7 p.m. We hope you'll join us. Same bat time, same bat channel. It'll be on youtube.com/Wekiva Sports, as well as the NFHS network, and right here at Mustang Field. An announcement for those here in the stadium: Student Government Association members, please stick around after the game to clean up the streamers from the stadium. We appreciate your help with that. Again, for those of you here in the stadium, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Please drive carefully and arrive home safely. Those of you tuning in online, please make sure you subscribe before you go. For Neil Fisher, this is Mark Barshi, the voice of the Mustangs, wishing you a good night and a great weekend. Good night from Mustang Field.